The portfolio that wasn't his years ago. When I worked at a small advertising agency, our design department was basically a ship without a captain. Everyone handled their own clients, their own deadlines, and their own creative direction. It wasn't ideal, but somehow the chaos worked. Eventually, management decided it was time to bring in a creative director. Since I had been there the longest on the design team, I was asked to help screen candidates and run the first round of interviews. Most applicants were forgettable, but two stood out. One was incredibly talented. His portfolio was sharp, modern, and thoughtful. During the interview, he was humble, collaborative, and clearly understood digital design inside and out. The other candidate, let's call him Eric, was the opposite. His portfolio was mediocre, his attitude was overconfident, and he spent half the interview bragging about himself. The only thing that impressed management was that he had worked for several companies within the niche industry our agency served. Apparently, that was enough. Despite my recommendation, Eric got the job. At first, we hoped we had judged him too quickly. We hadn't. Within a few months, it became obvious that Eric didn't actually understand the kind of work we did. He had almost no experience with digital design, websites, user interfaces, responsive layouts, all things our agency relied on. But instead of asking for help, he doubled down. He insisted on making decisions about projects he didn't understand. He rejected good ideas for bad ones. And when things inevitably went wrong, the rest of us had to quietly fix the damage. Late nights became normal. Meanwhile, Eric somehow managed to avoid the work entirely. He'd spend half the day in strategy meetings and leave right at 5, while the rest of us scrambled to save projects before deadlines. Morale dropped fast. After about a year of this, I decided I'd had enough and left the company. Months later, a former coworker sent me a message. "Have you seen what Eric's doing now?" Apparently, he had started his own agency. I was curious enough to look it up. The website looked surprisingly polished for a brand new company. Slick branding, confident messaging, big promises about digital innovation. Then I opened the portfolio and froze. Project after project looked familiar. Restaurant website I had designed, a mobile campaign. Another coworker had built an entire product landing page. We spent weeks perfecting. Every single piece of work came from our old agency. None of it was Eric's single quotes At first I thought about writing him directly, but I knew exactly how that conversation would go. He'd claim leadership credit, spin some story about team direction, and pretend the work was his by association. So instead, I did something simpler. I emailed one of the partners from our old agency, just a short message explaining that someone might be using their work to promote a competing business. I included the link. That was it, the partner replied. The next morning, "Thanks for letting us know. No drama, no questions, just that. By the end of the week, Eric's website had quietly disappeared. A few days later, his new company's social media accounts vanished too. I never heard what happened behind the scenes, but I imagine someone finally explained the difference between taking credit and owning the work.